Mike Mussina and Curt Schilling have compelling cases for the Hall of Fame. Numbers very similar to Jim Palmer, who is a 1990 inductee. For Moose, 270 wins, 2,813 strikeouts, always a force in the American League East. And, Chad, I'm going to start with you. Is there anybody on this set that you know would be a voter for Mike Mussina?
Is there anyone here currently in the building
maybe sitting over there.
I think that wouldn't stop talking about Mike Mussina throughout every meeting we've had today? Yeah, he's sitting over here in the corner. A good friend of mine, my friend Mark Feinsand, and now the three of us will stop talking for the rest of the hour, and Mark will just talk about Mike Mussina. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. What is, in your opinion, the most compelling case for Moose?
I think that the compelling case for Mussina is the longevity and the fact that he pitched in this division at a time when runs were so high. I think that a lot of attention was paid to, at the time, Maddox and Pedro and all these guys, and they get in easily. And so because you knew it. I mean, there's a lot of attention paid throughout their career. With Mussina, maybe got less attention, and so it takes a little bit to really look at his numbers and realize how well he matches up with a guy like Glavine or Smoltz. I mean, some of these guys who got in more easily, at some point you start examining his numbers and realize he's right there with him.
Now, Mark will vote for him when he gets his first ballot next year. I already have a few times, and I think he deserves it for a lot of the reasons Chad just said. And do not underestimate the fact that he pitched in the AL East. Some people just want to push that aside and forget about that this guy pitched in the steroid era. I love his strikeout-to-walk ratio. You look at some of the other statistics right there. I know we're in a culture where sabermetrically people want to push away from wins, and pitchers don't really get the win. It's the team win, and they don't control that. All that being said, this guy was out there long enough to get 270 wins and to have a terrific winning percentage. I look at his consistency. I think he was top 8 in ERA in the American League, something like 10 or 11 times. Is just a lot of reason to vote Mussina in.
Yeah, in our day and age, isn't 270 wins now like 300, 320? That previous benchmark for Hall of Famers?
5-man rotation, 270 wins is pretty impressive. Yeah. And for all the reasons that Jack said, you look at what Mussina did. Like I said before, his biggest crime is that he wasn't Pedro Martinez. And people say, well, he wasn't as good as those guys. That's fine. He was still probably a top 5 or 6 pitcher for his era during his career. 9 top 6 finishes in the Cy Young. Never won one because Pedro and Randy Johnson and all those other guys were winning them, but a really, really solid career, 3,500 innings. If you look at a lot of the, people talk about the wins, remember, you have to pitch some innings to be eligible for a win. 270 of them, 153 losses. To me, when I look at his votes this year, important to note, sort of like we said with Bonds, where his percentage went up, but he actually lost 7 votes. We've seen his percentage went up, and he gained 54 votes this year. So it looks like there are some voters who are starting to examine him a little closer, and I think not being on the ballot with Pedro, with Randy Johnson, with Greg Maddux will strengthen his case.
Yeah. All right. Now, numbers, go ahead, Chad.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think having those guys, it does skew if you're a voter. It kind of throws you off on what the Hall of Fame standard is. You see Maddux and you see Pedro and you see Randy on the ballot and you think that's what a Hall of Famer is. But that's the elite of the elite in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the Hall of Fame standard is a little bit lower than that. And so once you are not blinded by those huge names being on the ballot, I think then you're maybe better able to put these players into context.